College football playoffs. What was your initial takeaway from the overall college football playoffs?
For the most part, Martin, not surprised at 3 of the 4 teams as far as where they're ranked. But LSU, and I know we're still talking the first of six college football playoff rankings before you get to the final rankings. As far as LSU being at number 3, a little bit surprising to me. But of course, that'll be taken care of as far as who eventually stays in that top 4 after this week.
Yeah, and because of that, I didn't really care about the top 4. I really didn't. It really didn't matter to me. I looked at the college football playoffs top 25. And you can't tell me that UAB is not better than some of these teams or don't deserve to be up here anymore. And I know we're University of Alabama. This is Roll Tide country, but come on. I looked at UCF is the number, 11 team?
12.
Number 12 team? Okay, let's go through UCF's schedule. And this is, I know that, like I said, Alabama folks, hold on, because props are due. And if I was some Auburn folk, I'd be calling Bill Clark right now.
You know Bill Clark's going to get a lot better job sooner rather than later.
Yeah, if I was Auburn, I'd be calling Bill Clark right now. So UCF beat Connecticut, South Carolina State. Their game against North Carolina was postponed due to the weather. They beat Florida Atlantic. They beat Pittsburgh, which looked like a good winning time, but not really. They beat SMU, Memphis, barely. Memphis lost that one as much as them winning, but they still get the victory, and they beat East Carolina, okay? UAB, Savannah State, they lost to Coastal Carolina. Bad loss, bad game. But then they beat Tulane, Charlotte, La Tech, Rice, shut Rice out 42-0. North Texas, who beat Arkansas, and they shut out UTEP. So you're telling me that there's at least 13 spots difference between the UCF schedule and UAB's? There are teams in the college football playoffs. Listen to this. Iowa State is 4-3. 4-3. Mississippi State, 5-3, and they're the 18th best team in the country. What have I been saying all year about college football, James? That is what? Down. There's a grand total of 4 undefeated teams in the country. UCF, Notre Dame, Clemson, and Alabama. So I just got – let's just kind of talk through – because there's going to be plenty of talk about the top 4. Top 4. Let's look at a couple things. I got a question for you, James. Is Ohio State going to find themselves back in the playoffs? Look at their path. It's not that difficult. Okay? Alabama will knock out LSU and give them 2 losses. Notre Dame then moves up. Clemson is still there. Michigan plays Ohio State. Ohio State takes care of them. University of Oklahoma is their only obstacle to keep them out. Because if Ohio State wins out and there's University of Oklahoma, that they may beat Ohio State. But anybody else, they're going to jump them.
Well, you have Bama, LSU, Georgia, and Kentucky that basically all play each other.
That's what I'm saying.
That's about half the top 10 right there.
They're all going to take care of each other. Washington State could win out, and Ohio State win out, and Ohio State's in.
Yes.
Okay? So the only thing that can keep Ohio State out if they win out is Oklahoma winning out. That's it. And then you come down to the debate between Oklahoma and Ohio State. Well, you've already dogged the Big 12. Where's the next Big 12 team? Where's the next Big 12 team? West Virginia? West Virginia at 6-1 is already behind the University of Florida at 6-2. I mean, so you've already said that they really don't have that good of a league. And I don't, whether her name Heather Dentridge, whatever her name is.
I think we know where you're getting at.
She's always, and I don't ever agree with her, hardly ever, because I don't think she knows what she's talking about most of the time. But she did say it's not just where you're ranked, it's where the people you play are ranked. And that's surprising with me. I think Florida being the number 11 team helped LSU because that's LSU's only loss. And them being almost just outside of the top 10, had big impact. But I think Ohio State has a legit shot. If Washington State wins out, do you think they can get in? Because the Pac-12 has been dogged like just does a Georgia – think about this. Does a Georgia team that goes all the way to the SEC championship game and plays Alabama close, do the two-loss Georgia team with a close loss to LSU – not a close loss, but a loss to LSU and a close loss to Alabama and the defending – runner-up, do they get in front of a one-loss Washington State?
Once again, it's a PSA out there for the Pac-12. You know how bad the Pac-12 South in particular is. There is still a mathematical possibility for a six-way tie for first, and there are 6 teams in the Pac-12 South.
And the next highest-ranked Pac-12 team is University of Utah, who's already sitting, James, at 6-2, right? Am I reading that correctly? 6-2. And then is that the only other one in there?
Only one with a winning record right now. Colorado does, but as far as less than 3 losses.
Oh, wow. So it's just college football is bad in my opinion. Just bad. It's bad. Anyway, back to my point. I think UAB should be in the top 25. They're 7-1. What Bill Clark has done, without a doubt, has proven to be impressive, and I thought that they should have gotten in there. I'm not sure what they have to do to get in, because some of these teams just in here, man. Boston College celebrating their first time in the college football playoffs, top 25. So kudos to them. But 6-2, 6-2, 4-3, 6-2, 5-3, 5-3, and there's my old boy Texas A&M. At 5-3, headed toward another 8-4, 4-4 SEC type of record, but $75 million worth, baby. Hey, let's get the break here. We'll continue our conversation on the college football playoffs. We will talk about the top teams. We will talk about what it means. But I just wanted to look at a couple of initial takeaways, and my initial takeaway is college football overall is down, or they've just created great parity. Which one is it? We'll talk about that and more right here on the Blitz on Tide 102.9 and 100.9. All right. Let's get to Pat. Pat, welcome in. You wanted to talk about why college football isn't down.
Yes. I don't want to talk about why college football is not down, and it's because of parity. You mentioned it a few just before you went to break. Mm-hmm. And part of it, you say, let's go take Thompson, for instance. You saw the arms race that Thompson had as far as facilities goes. They had down in South Alabama, where One Rush Prost used to coach. Hey, they have a indoor facility before anybody else in the state had an indoor facility, and they were working hard with athletes and all. And they had Antoine Odom and the fullback Brandon Johnson from Auburn at the same time that on that team, and went to I think about the third round of the state playoffs. But the other problem is parity now. There's only 85 scholarships for Division I, but all Division I schools do not get 85 scholarships. Is that not correct?
I mean, if they can afford it, I mean, I guess it.
Yeah, key word. You just hit it.
But I don't know that there's not any that's not giving out 85. I don't know that. I think they all give out 85.
Okay, what I'm saying is, but they don't have 85 on hand at any one time.
If they don't, that's bad coaching, because there's enough athletes out there and with recruiting. So I don't. If somebody's out there that doesn't have 85 players.
Okay. Well, here's where I'm going to from that. There's 85, but then you've got. We have to hand it to. They had a coach over where that great defensive. I mean, not defensive, but great wide receiver Rice played that over in Mississippi, and missed out. Every other team in Mississippi. Every other team passed on Jerry Rice, okay? But that coach had a hard hat. He wore a hard hat. Nick Saban, except he would mess up his pretty hair, should wear a hard hat, because nobody works harder than Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Do you not agree?
I agree, and that's why I say that I think college football is down. I mean, okay. I think there's parity. Parity doesn't exclude being down. Okay, right. Parity means equal, and you can be equal below the water level. And I think that when you look at number 24 team in the country is Iowa State at 4-3. Pat.
Yeah, hey, it's just like that matrix number that we were talking about earlier in the year. About how that they said that Alabama, that when Tua is on the field, is 28 spots better than a second place team.
So
but let's go back to why that is. I think that the biggest reason that is that it is Nintendo. And I'm going to say that I like to say using the word Nintendo to refer to all video games.
You're right.
So many athletes now are playing Nintendo. I'm talking about they're still athletes, but they're playing. There's too much time spent on the video controls, and that's whether or not they're just watching TV or whether they're just playing.
I think it's two things.
All those video games are causing the athlete not to be equal.
Well,
not to be getting as good an athlete as you can possibly get. Go ahead.
These athletes coming in today are better equipped than we were.
I understand.
But watch this.
Well,
the problem is, no, it's not just Alabama. the Ole Miss team that walks in here that can't beat anybody, if you were to line them up physically against the 92 team, they make us look like we didn't belong on the field with them. These athletes today coming in are, from a look standpoint, they're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. I'm talking about coming out of high school. These high school coaches are doing an unbelievable job in the physical side. The problem is they're a bunch of wimps. They're soft. Football is a soft sport, okay? And when and now when you have a couple teams like an Alabama, you have a team like a Clemson that is physical as well as athletic, they will dominate. That's why we're on our road to Rocky IV is what I'm calling it, because good Lord, I mean, we might as well go ahead and start a movie series of the Alabama-Clemson showdown, because I just don't see how it's avoided again. We're going to have, out of 5 college football playoffs, barring something crazy, we're going to have Clemson, Alabama version number 4. But that's because they have the best athletes, and they're both physical. Clemson in the ACC, the reason Clemson dominates is they got a little bit of that old SEC in them, meaning that they got a physical dominating defense, especially up front. And they, what does Clemson do? Yeah, they went to this passing quarterback, but their running back is averaging 3 touchdowns a game, rushing the ball. So they got a little bit of that SEC in them. And that's why I think you're going to see an Alabama-Clemson showdown again.
Oh, there's no doubt. The best thing for Clemson to happen to them is for Ohio State to get in. They'll beat him like a drum. They're the same thing, and we're going to beat Notre Dame like a drum. So you're right. It's exactly that. It depends on where, and I do believe that the college playoff system is going to stack it so that you get those matchups because they want to see Clemson and Alabama again in order to get the best views for television.
Do you blame them when you look at the top? I got to get out of here, but look at the top 14. I mean, look at the top teams. I mean, who else is going to be there? You got Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, the only 3 Power 5 undefeated teams in the country. Then you got LSU, Michigan, Georgia, Oklahoma, Washington State, Kentucky, and Ohio State. That's going to be the guys that's fighting for that position.
Yeah, I'm not real sure that Ohio State's going to beat Michigan.
I'm not either, but I don't think this Michigan team is very good either. I think they have a good defense, but I don't think they're a really good team. All right, Pat, appreciate you, man.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, man. Appreciate it. All right, Tom, you in with the Blitz. What's on your mind, man?
Hey, Martin, I was thinking last night when the polls came out, and since you brought it up this morning, I agree with what you're saying about college football as a whole. It's just not up there where it could be or should be in quality.
Tom, let me ask you this question. In the past, if Alabama was off, would you have been like, man, I got to watch this game? Because when your team's not playing, it gives you a chance to catch up on some other teams. Other than Florida and Georgia, who did you want to see last week?
Nobody.
I mean, absolutely nobody.
Yeah, it's just not out there. The Michigans or the Big Ten, used to back in the day, there were several games on there you just had to see.
Right.
And but it's not like that anymore. The Pac-12, I'm Mike Gundy. You say Pac-12 to me, I go, and but hey, Martin, I wanted to ask you this. I think that the committee plays a little game in the early part of the polling season for the committee, and they embellish these things to help their TV brethren out. Alabama and LSU, they made it bigger by putting LSU in the top 4, and I believe they do that. And to me, there's nothing wrong with it because as much as we complain about TV and the money they brought, all like that, we listen, we watch, and we enjoy. So they've got a role, and they're playing that role to help the TV people out, and I don't have a problem with it.
Tom, I totally agree that part of this college football playoff ranking is about future matchups. Some of the teams, they rank where they rank because they know that it's going to take care of itself. Okay.
Hey, Martin, I'll tell you something. And also they're playing to the fact is, let's face it, Alabama and LSU is a playoff game. I don't care.
Right.
The winner of that, it moves on for another week and helps their resume in the playoff picture.
Yep.
Georgia and Kentucky. Laugh if you want to at Kentucky, but I'm telling you, it's a playoff game.
Yep. And watch this. They do part of the ranking, Tom, to me, is they put some teams higher than they deserve to be because they know that they know a couple things. Now, if they drop LSU way down and LSU upsets Alabama, how stupid are they going to look? Number one, that they didn't have them up there in front of Notre Dame and Michigan and those teams. So
I
they
agree.
put them.
That's a great point right there.
And then if they lose, then they gave that fan base belief in the college football playoff system because they ranked their team high.
Yeah,
okay?
Well,
all the other teams have a chance to. Everybody else behind LSU has a chance to play in.
Yeah, they got hope. And I'll tell you something else. The LSU fans in at number 3, they got hope.
Right.
And interest and fired up. But I'll say this. The committee did Alabama a favor. Number 3's never made it to the playoffs, ever. and as superstitious as LSU fans, the committee kind of killed them last night.
But the number 1 team has never won it. Did you know that? The number one team has never won.
Okay, that's enough of that. I've heard enough of that. I've heard enough of that already. You can stop it.
Did you not know that?
I did not know that.
Back to your
when
point.
Alabama's number one, I'm saying we're winning it. But now you got me superstitious.
No, seriously, I know it really doesn't have anything to do with anything. But remember the very first college football playoff, the first poll ever, they did what you were talking about. They had Mississippi State up there, but guess who Mississippi State was playing down the road? Alabama. But going into the final week, the final ranking, the number one team has never won. Oregon was that a few years ago. Then you had Clemson number one, Alabama beat them. Alabama number one, Clemson beat them. Georgia number one, Alabama beat them. So
that's enough of that, Martin. I called in there to have some fun this morning. Now I've got an ulcer.
But there's always a time to break a trend, and we'll break that trend this year. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate you, man.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
You have a good one. All right. Hey, guys, we got a couple calls coming in. Guys, stay tuned on the line. We'll get back with you. Talking college football playoffs. According to Tom's point, does this committee kind of play games with the fan bases out there to keep them engaged, to give opportunity? They know teams are going to play each other, and so it doesn't really matter if they have them ranked higher than they really deserve. Is that part of what the committee is doing? We can talk about that and more right here on your home for Alabama sports on Top 102.9, 100.9. I know there's a lot of talk about the college football playoffs, and we're going to get to JPC and Doug. Hold on for just a second. But let's look. If there was no ranking, if football didn't come out with a preseason ranking, would there be any difference in the top 6 teams or top 7 teams or top 8 teams? How is it that Georgia is behind Michigan when LSU is in front of Notre Dame? If Georgia lost to the number 3 team and Michigan lost to the number 4 team, how do you put you see what I'm saying? I mean, if you were just looking at this, and should LSU be there? I keep hearing LSU had a tough schedule. Let's look at LSU real quick, James. Miami, Florida, not ranked. Oh, but they were number 4. They were number 8. They were top 10. That was because of what they did last year. Southeast Louisiana. Oh, Auburn. LSU beat Auburn. So did Tennessee. Okay, they're not ranked. La Tech, not ranked. Ole Miss, not ranked. Oh, there's that ranked team. They beat Florida. Oh, no, they didn't. They lost to Florida. So the team that actually ended up being a decent team, LSU lost to. But they did destroy Georgia. They did destroy Georgia. And they beat Mississippi State. So, yes, LSU's had a good season, but it's not anywhere. And then people go, well, Alabama hadn't played anybody. Yep. And undoubtedly, no one has shown up to play Alabama either. Alabama is the top 20 ranked offense in the country based on halftime statistics, people. I think one game, Texas A&M is the only game that we would not have won if we didn't score a single point after the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken. No one has scored more points in 4 quarters than we've scored in 1 quarter except for A&M, right? Maybe Arkansas, because they got a couple late touchdowns in the 4th quarter, maybe Arkansas. But either way, games have never been in question. So college football playoffs, some people saying it's still not down. Guys, I'm telling you, college football is down. There's some parity going on, but it's some ugly, sorry, soft football happening. And if this is what they wanted to create by creating parity, they made a mistake. I mean, I'd rather see 10, 12 really good teams than 100 mediocre teams and 2 good teams. How many Alabama fans are really having fun watching the Alabama game? Not Alabama quarter, the Alabama game. Anyway, let's get to JPC. JPC, you're in. What's up, man?
That's pretty good stuff, man. I just want to start off by giving you my prediction.
Okay, go ahead.
Game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take Alabama 34, LSU 6.
And total yards allowed.
Total yards allowed by Alabama?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll say 207.
Okay. And by the way, I still have your prize pack from a few weeks back.
No, I got a prize pack?
Yeah, you won about 4 weeks ago.
I thought I was just entered in some kind of grand prize.
No. You got it. There's a prize pack.
Okay, I'll try to come down there and get it then.
You just have to let me know so because I took it to my office with me because I didn't know when you were going to call or not. So that'd be fine.
All right, I'll come down there and get it one day next week, probably on a Monday.
Okay, just let me know.
All right. I just wanted to call in also, and as far as Pat and you saying there's parity in college football, I don't see any parity. I mean, Alabama's won 5 out of 9 national championships. That don't sound like parity to me. That sounds like dynasty.
Well, that's my point. Is everybody? That's why I said, okay, if this is what parity creates, I don't like it. I think college football is down. I think the gap between the haves and the have-nots are lower because the reality of it is, if it wasn't for Alabama, there would still only be 2 other teams. You know, right. Clemson probably doesn't have 3 titles. Georgia doesn't have 2 because of Nick Saban. You know, exactly. Everybody gives Kirby all this love about how good he is. Kirby hadn't done anything that Mark Richt didn't do. Mark Richt just had to play Nick Saban in the SEC championship game where Kirby had to play him in the national championship game. Same difference. That Georgia team where Mark Richt wins the national championship and Kirby wins the national championship if there's no Nick Saban. But you're right. It's definitely a dynasty, and I think college football is down. I mean, just down, ugly down.
Well, even the 4 teams that you get every year are usually about the same, just interchangeable, like with Oklahoma and Ohio State. They seem to always be hovering around that 4th spot and all that good stuff. So, right. I mean, there's not much parity going on to me.
Right.
Like you said, I mean, each conference has 1 or 2 good teams, and the rest of them are just like 4 and 3 right now. I mean, I saw the rankings. You got a lot of 4 and 3 and 5 and 3 teams.
That's right.
On the cusp, and that brings me to my next question for you. That I actually asked Travis Ryder the other day. It looks like all these teams are catching their second loss relatively early.
Yes, they are.
Everybody's got 2 losses, and there's that 4th spot sitting there, and Central Florida's undefeated. You think they finally give them their shot if there's a bunch of 2-loss teams?
I hope not, because when I looked at the schedule, if UAB's not a top 25 team at 7-1, then UCF at undefeated is not a top 4 team. That makes sense.
Right.
I mean, you're looking at UAB. Their schedules aren't that different, and you're saying one team, if they went out, would be a top 4 team, and the other team is struggling to make the top 25. I don't think they deserve it, number one, because that UCF team in any of these other team schedules would have 3-4 losses, and you just can't reward that. I mean, you just can't. And I know it stinks and it sucks for all of the other teams that play in Division I and they truly don't have a chance to win a championship. But I talked to a UCF fan yesterday, and he showed me his national championship ring. His son was on the team, and he said, he said, man, but we don't deserve to be in there. He said it's just reality is we're not going to get in. We're not going to get in. Hey, I got to get to another call. JPC, you got anything else for me?
Well, I was just going to say, by the time that UCF that happened, they would have won like 30-something straight games. So I'm like you. I don't think they deserve it, but I'd like for them to get a shot just so we can shut them up.
Well, the problem is when you give an underdog a shot, they might just shock the world. And if that ever happens, it's going to change the world. So, all right, man. Be good. Thanks, JPC. All right, Doug, thanks for your patience, man. What's on your mind?
Hey, man, what's going on?
Yo, you?
Doing great, brother. Hey, look, I got a couple of things.
Go ahead.
First of all, feeding off what you were just talking about UCF and what you were saying about parity and all that stuff, you really want to make this competitive and have some semblance of parity, divide it up. Make the non-Power 5 schools, give them
their own division. Yep.
And let the Power 5 schools play it out, and make it sick, and you have
yep.
The winners of each conference play each other with one
representative. Yep.
And be done. Right. Be done with it. Then you settle it on the field.
Yep.
Then you settle it on the field.
I agree.
And that's the way it should be done. I don't know. Larry Culpepper needs to come back and redo this doggone
to me, it's really simple. Like you say, you divide the league, you divide the division, make it 2. You got the non-Power 5 and those teams, and they have a legitimate chance to be champions of their division. And then you take the Power 5, and to me, you take the Power 5 and one at large. And that way, a team – because I hate the fact that you have to be near perfect. If Alabama were to lose a game, all of a sudden, because of their schedule, people would say, well, they're not perfect. Well, the New England Patriots didn't have to be perfect to be the Super Bowl champions. No other sport do you have to be perfect to be the champion, except for in college football. You almost have to be perfect just to have a chance to play for the championship. And should Ohio State be out because they lost one? Maybe, maybe not. But in college football, because you don't sell it on the field, you don't sell it in championship games, a five team with one at large, 6 teams, you give a bye week to 1 and 2, and then anyway, it's easy. But they're going to maximize this money first, Doug, and then they're going to change it.
Well, but I'm tell you what, that would maximize money too, because you got 2 championship series.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing, and I one last thing on what you were just saying. Look at Alabama 7A football reaching 3. 4-way tie for number 1 before they went into Hewitt-Trussville and then Hoover and Mountain Brook. And Hoover, who had lost, ended up being the region champs. Right. And just because of the way it fell. Mm-hmm. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. But now when they go to the playoffs, Hewitt-Trussville got beat by Thompson. Guess what? Playoffs, they made each other again. Thompson may lose to Hewitt-Trussville. Right. And that's what happened. Year. Hoover got beat by Thompson, and then Thompson turned around and beat Hoover. Exactly right. That's Hoover turned around and beat Thompson. I'm sorry. Yeah, in last year. Yeah. And here's the thing. What I was going to call in about was the playoff thing. I think it's great, but here's what's funny. If you're not Clemson, LSU, or Georgia, and you're behind Alabama, you're pulling for Alabama to beat LSU. Right. Because if Alabama loses in a close one, which would be the only way I can see it happening. They're going to be in the top 4. If Alabama loses in a close one, they got a shot at going back in just by the way things fall. Okay, if Alabama loses to LSU, who are you going to put in front of them? Right. Exactly. I mean, you would flip LSU and Alabama. Pretty much. So if you are Michigan or Notre Dame or Oklahoma or anybody like that, you're pleading with Alabama to absolutely massacre LSU. You want them to destroy them. Hey, so that they're completely out of the top of it. Hey, man, I appreciate your patience.